Okay, so welcome to this week's Weekly Sync. We'll be starting by demos. I'll be presented. So actually I'll be watching, you'll be presenting. Who wants to start?
I think the other, then you guys can go first. Then.
Okay.
Then we'll jump in.
We will go first then. Okay, so I will first show the demo and Fatima will walk through the code. So let me share my screen. Okay, so for our issue this week, we had to create a text field above the shopping list, which is a search box. And as the user types into the box, it would filter the list of items on the list. And if the list is found, then that would be shown. If you kind of backspace into your input, then the list will be continuously updated until there's nothing left. There's also going to be an X as an UI element. And if you click on the X, it will clear the search, and the search results would also be refreshed to reflect that there is nothing being searched for. So the entire list would be rendered. So a quick demo here, we already have a list of items in a created list. Now I'm just going to start typing, and then, oh, sorry about that. You will see the list being refreshed based on what I'm typing. And if I just put in the B, you will see that the list will update based on the first letter. And if I clear the entire list, it's going to show everything that's on the list. And you will see that the X on the side, if I click on this element, it will clear the entire list. So the entire list will be rendered. So Fatima will now walk you through the code.
Okay.
Sorry, just a minute. Can you try to, I didn't catch if you tried to search for a part of the word, not from the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Like instead of bread, you start with R.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the partial search would also work.
By the way, the X also didn't see if it works. I think you just delete. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So as soon as you start typing, the X would appear. And then when you click on the X, it would clear the field.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and explain the code. Okay, so we worked on the list item.js file. We added input elements with the type of search, and we looked out for the change by targeting the onChange event here. So we are updating with search list here. We declare the state for search list up here. So we are updating with every input using search list. So for the filter part, we created a separate file called custom.js file. And what it does is that every input that you put on the input element, all the words is going to look out for all the words that you input inside. That's why we make use of includes. It's going to include all the letters. So first of all, we are mapping through. We are using filter method to do the filtering. So we try to update it to a lowercase just to check in case the user inputs a capital letter or they input small letter, it's still going to accept it. They'll be able to search irrespective of any type of letters that they input, irrespective of the case of the letter. So that's what is happening here. We try to change it to a lowercase, that is the input of the user and the particular item that we are trying to check. So we update it to lowercase here and we search through everything. So because this is a separate file, we exported it and we use it inside the list item here. And we use it inside the list item. So that's all the changes we made to the code for the search functionality to work. Then sorry. Then here while we were mapping, we were checking for the length just to ensure that just to prevent error if it's empty. We are trying to check for the length to prevent error if it's empty here. So that's why we have dot length is greater than 0 and we are mapping through everything here. So that's the changes we made to the codes.
Yep, that's good thinking to prevent errors. By the way, about custom filter, why is it in its own folder and not, like the other ones?
I can put it in a file like the other ones. So
I don't know, maybe because it's not a presentational component and it's just something like a utility that does something. Maybe that's the reason.
I just created the folder to separate it.
Okay,
There's
it's
no
not
particular reason why we did that.
Yeah, but it's not wrong or bad. I was just curious, so I just asked. And by the way, I really like that you used the optional chain in that question mark, because I think maybe now it's supported by more browsers. I mean, Create React, I think builds a project, so it's supported by even older browsers. But that was very nice thinking instead of checking it the old way. That was pretty cool, and that you checked you converted to lowercase when searching, so you can avoid if the search term is in a different case. So I think you covered a lot of cases, and the code is really clean. Somebody wrote something in the chat. Does anybody else want to ask something or add something?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. If you can go up, Fatima, in the code, scroll up a little bit. Okay, I'm super curious about what's the reason for having, if you go to lines 43 and 46, I have seen in the, I'm sure that it was because if you put the set loading only once, it was not going to work. So it had some problem, but what was the reason of doing that? Because, yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I touched this part while working. So I think it's from the previous code where we were test running some things. So this was not part of what we worked on. I don't know if Dana touched this part actually, but while I was doing my own part, I did not touch this aspect. So Dana, did you do any?
That's the original code. I mean, I think the only thing, if I did anything, was just taking it out from the if condition and just running it after the conditionals. But
it was the case. So at the beginning, if you go to through the commit history, at the beginning was only one set loading outside the if.
Yeah, because so what happened was this was the original state when we pulled from main beginning of the week. Then when I did the refactoring, I took it out of the conditionals and then just set it to after it ran. And I think when Fatima was working from the code, she worked from main. So she didn't pull my change.
Okay, it was not because
no, there's no reason to put it back.
Problem.
No.
Okay.
And I can switch it back again next week.
Yep. So Golfo already covered my question a little bit, but I was curious about why did you move from using low-level regular expressions to use functions like includes or to lowercase, so that it's cool, but I wanted to know about the reasoning of switching from that.
Okay.
I don't think there was any particular reason for switching, except when I first worked on the code, it was sort of based on what we worked on the weeks before. And I think when Fatima put in her solution, she just used a different set of, she just used a different approach, and maybe she changed.
No, it's
Yeah.
using stream functions is more readable than having to know what the special regular expression is doing. So this is more readable. So it's a good change.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious about the reasoning behind that. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Okay, so great job, team. Thank you very much. And now let's move on to the next team's presentation.
Idema, are you around? Or should I?
Can you, yeah, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
okay.
like zoom up my this thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so what we are meant to do with our own issue is just to calculate the next estimated purchase date, like when a user clicks on purchase an item. So immediately we should be able to compute the next time that the user should be able to like buy the item again. So, and we're provided a function to do that. And it is, we installed the package that we got the function from, that is from the shopping list util. So we used, there is a particular function that has already, had the logic for computing the next time that the user is going to purchase that particular item based on some parameters like the previous estimate and the days since the last purchase was made, and also the total number of purchases. So it is going to use these 3 parameters to be able to compute how likely or how soon the buyer is likely going to purchase that item again. So when a purchase is recorded, the estimated number of days until the next purchase should be calculated, and then we should record it in the database in Firestore. So we also modified the what we had before, the data point we had before, in such a way that it can be able to accommodate these parameters that we have here now. So we did a little modification to the schema for the initial one. So this is something like this. So we now have the estimated purchase interval. So, and then we also have the total purchase. So this is what we added to the data. This is what we added to our schema, so that once a user clicks on this, it will be able to compute it and leave us with this. So I think I will have to show us the code first, or how it, let me show us how this is calculated first. Let me show us the, okay, let's say this is our, let's say this is what we have now. So let me say I want to buy, I will only make use of the new data that I add, because I will have to delete all these ones. So these ones were the previous data point that we had. So this one did not have the new schema that we added. So it is not going to reflect here. Okay, I just added these two now. I added this sweet pie and I added this popcorn. Okay, let me say I want to buy the popcorn. So once I click it, it is sending that data to Firestore. So it is sending that data to Firestore. Okay. So let me just show us from this one. So it's I show that the next time I'm likely going to purchase that item is in 52. In the next, let me say the next 52 days either it completed it. And also it is also recording the last purchase, the time I did the last purchase. And I've purchased this item now for the 4th time. So it is also recording that. So for me to be able to purchase that item again, at least it is in the next 24 hours from what we did previously. So if I want to be able to buy that, if I come to what we have here. Okay, you see, I cannot be able to. So in the next 24 hours, you see that this will enable so that you can be able to buy that item again. So if I click it, it will change. But for me to, let me just tweak it a little, and so that I can be able to purchase this item again. So I can just. Let me just edit this. Let me just change the time. This time is very okay. Let me add something that is a bit closer. Let me just add this and update it. Okay. So. Okay, see, I can be able to buy that item again. So let me just click on this and go back. You see that the time that I'm supposed to buy it again is now 35. So it's now 35 in the next 35 days. So depending on the data that I pass in, that is the time. That is, and all those other total purchases and everything. That is how it is calculating all these. The next time I'm supposed to buy it. But first of all, initially, if I just add an item and I've not purchased any item at that item yet, the first time I'm going to click that I want to purchase it, the next purchase is going to be, it is going to return what we have. That is the number of days that we have in the days in last purchase from the function. So, okay, this is the, I will show us the code now. I don't know if maybe we have any question about this. Can you hear me?
Yep, I don't have any questions. It appears to be working. The acceptance criteria are passing. So please show us the code.
Okay, so this is the code. So this is what we did. First of all, in our add item component, we just added these data points to it. We added the estimated purchase interval. That is the function that it will be adding. We added this and set it initially to null. We also added the total purchases and then we set it to 0. So in the list item component, this is where the checkbox is. So we already had some logic there before, so we just added the one that will be able to compute our this thing for us. I'll be able to compute our next purchase time. So once, okay, these are checkbox. So once this handle on change, we already had the function before, so we just added what we needed now. So we use this function days since last transaction. So it will just days since last transaction already. If we already had you've already purchased that item, so it means that we'll have last purchase there. So we are going to do the calculation, which is we'll take the current time and then we subtract the last purchase time from it, all of them in milliseconds. Then we'll now divide it by the number of seconds in 1 day. So it will give us the number of days, and then we'll round it. It will give us the number of days. If we don't have any last purchase, that means this is the first time we are buying that item. So that means the last purchase there, it will be null. So if so be it, so the last purchase the day since last transaction should be set to 0. Okay, so that is how we got the day since last transaction. So we use it to calculate the estimated purchase interval. So we use that function, we imported it, calculates estimates, we imported it from the package shopping list util. So it takes in 3 parameters. So it takes in 3 parameters, which I'm going to, okay, the previous estimate, it takes in the day since last transaction, and it takes in the total purchases. So the previous estimate should be our item that's estimated purchase interval. So it also passing the day since last transaction, and also we passing the total purchases, which is our item that's total purchases. So this is what we just did. This one will calculate it for us. So then this one's the item dot last purchase, we already had it, and then the item dot total purchases is we now take the total purchase we had already and increment it by 1. So and then we update our list. So that is basically what we did, and should be able, the function should handle the rest for us to be able to do the computation. Okay, so that is it.
I added a comment on the code, and Ayu was asking for clarification on. So I was suggesting or letting you know that there is something called magic numbers in programming. So with the link was not super clear. So for example, if you go to line 72, you can see that you are using 1000, 60, 60, 24. So a magic number in coding is any number that it's hard coded in the code, but for you or for your future self or for anyone other reading the code is not, maybe it's not clear. In this case, it is, because you are kind of using dates and everything like that. So avoiding magic numbers is a good way for making the code more readable. So in this case, the change would be, you already did that in the previous. If you scroll up a little bit, you already have that kind of fixed now, line 54. So you have a constant that is day in milliseconds. Okay, so day in milliseconds, it's a meaningful thing. So you can, for example, in line 62, remove that 1000, 60, 60, 24 and put that day in milliseconds. So it's a way of not having any kind of hardcode number that it's always easier to assign that to a constant that has a meaningful name, and this your future self is going to thank you when you see the code in the future, and others while doing the review. And yeah, also normally for example in line 54, if there is day in milliseconds, there is no need for you to do the operation in the line. So you put there the result of the operation. It's not, it's 84, 86, 4 and 5 zeros or something like that. So is that That's clear. How are you?
Yeah, so it's basically like if you have like some numbers like 1,000 and then 60, 60, 24, and you store it in a variable so that it's much more readable and we can understand what it means. Is that what
Yeah.
that means?
But it's any case, there is maybe you are doing a query and you have any number that you are using for operation, the greater than, equal than. If you put a number, then you should substitute that number by a variable and do it, add some meaning to the number.
Okay, so not only like a rows of numbers, but when it's number and it's like we don't know what that number is.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, maybe if you are
Yeah.
doing dates, maybe it's a week, but you don't know for sure. You can guess, but if
Mhm.
you assign to if you give the meaning in the name of the variable, you are adding, you are giving the reviewer better time when checking
Okay.
why the codes.
Yeah.
For
Thank
example,
you, David.
another example is here in the line 63. There is a 0 there, but what unit is that 0? It's a day. What is it? I know it's a day, but you can put there 0 days, for example, instead of 0.
Oh, in the variable, you mean like put it in the variable like 0 days?
Yeah.
And
Instead of putting that 0, it's
Yeah.
lines transaction 0 days. So
okay.
it's an example, but it's
Yeah.
any hard code number should be, if possible, converted into a constant and be referenced by that constant in the code.
Oh, thanks,
There
David.
in the link I shared there are good conversation and quite a few examples of that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And I was about to make a comment. I'm not sure if it's valid or not. I guess in handle on change, there's this variable items. I guess it's something global because I don't see it imported anywhere.
Variable
In
items.
line 59.
Okay, this right?
Yep.
This is our item that's like the
Yeah, I think
we have a stage for it. We have a stage for it. So we look
You
at
state.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
so
state.
yeah, we get it. Those are like the list all the items we have for that particular token, a particular user. All those items you are seeing listed out. So these where they are stored. So once you we go to the list, we are able to like load all of them from Firestore and then put it in there. So we are now iterating through it here. So
Yep,
so that is so.
Just want to comment that I'm not sure, since this is a state, if it's very good to directly change the properties of an item. So like you do item dot estimated purchase interval equals this and that. I mean, I guess that you want to update it everywhere. I'm not sure if this is so good. And another thing I thought about is that if the document isn't updated, then you have different values. You have a different value in your item and the document doesn't get updated. In this particular case, it's not so serious, but generally we should keep in mind when changing properties of objects in JavaScript that it changes the actual object. So I'm not sure if I'm saying this clearly. It changes everywhere, so we just have to keep that in mind instead of just updating in this particular function.
I don't get.
Sorry?
I don't get, please. I don't
Yep.
understand, like,
I'm not explaining it very well. I just want to explain in JavaScript that you pass by reference and not by value when you assign properties to objects. You can look this up and read more about it because I'm not explaining it very well. I maybe write in the Slack. And
yeah, maybe it's the rule of thumb is that we shouldn't be using globals. So it's best to to pass everything that is needed by a function, it needs to be in the arguments.
Yep. So this is what I want to comment. David made some very good comments, so I don't have much else to add. So if everybody is done, nobody wants to ask or add anything, we'll move on to issues presented by Chamaka.
All right. So we'll do the issues before the module.
I think whatever you want. Yeah, I think we can.
Okay. All right, for this week, we have issue 11 and 12. Okay, so the 11, it says, as a user, I want to be able to delete items from my, someone's background is sorry. As a user, I want to be able to delete items from my shopping list so that my list isn't cluttered with items I don't want to buy in the future. So it says it's possible our users may make an error when entering an item and may decide they won't be buying a certain item again in future. Let's help them keep their list tidy. So as the AC, the first one is a user is able to delete an item from the shopping list. Then before deleting, prompt the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item to prevent accidental deletions. Deletion should cause the associated records in the database to be deleted too. Note, as noted in the wireframe, activating the delete link should pop up a confirmation dialog because this is a destructive action. Many teams jump to a modal as a solution here, but modals are fraught with accessibility concerns. So consider using a simple JavaScript confirm dialog to do it. And this is the wireframe. So when you press the delete button, it's expected to pop up, or to just do it. So it's suggesting that you use a confirm JavaScript dialog instead of using a modal, because modals always have accessibility concerns. So when you press the delete, it's expected to show the user a dialog box to confirm that they actually want to delete the item. And then when they now affirm to the deletion, you can now go ahead and remove the item, both from their list and then from the database too. So that's what this issue is about. Is there any question? I think this one is.
Yes. Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
I just want to ask, what's the difference between confirm dialog and modal?
Okay, that confirmed dialog is the inbuilt JavaScript own. I think it's just like alert box, just like how you pop up an alert. There is JavaScript confirm box too. I've forgotten. It's just a little code for it where you get to put in what you want. Yeah, it's a pop-up window of, yeah. So you get to put in what you want. Yeah, you want the person to select about. If they say yes, you run a function. If they say no, they'll just close the button. That's what they mean by it.
Yeah, the difference is also that the modal means that maybe you can use a fancy JavaScript library, that it will be super pretty, but it will have problems with screen readers and accessibility. So that is why they are suggesting for only using the built-in functionality, because it's supported by screen readers and accessibility guidelines.
Mhm. So
You can
that's
also research, maybe there is a modal library that also deals with accessibility that I don't know. Maybe.
Is it the confirm and alert basically almost the same? Or
yeah,
No,
they do
because
different things.
yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
They do different things. So this is confirm. You expect it has action buttons on it. You're expected to either say yes or no. But alert just like tells you an information. You're not expected to do anything on it. Yeah.
okay.
But the
Yeah.
other one is either okay. So in this case, cancel or okay, you're saying yes or no. If yes, I want to delete this, then you run a function underneath to actually make a call to DB to delete. Yeah.
Okay. But this confirm, it's like it works with window, like it works with window compared to the other modal. So I'm just asking that is it okay to work when you are working? Is it okay to use something like confirm like this for a window that works with window like this? Is it okay to make use of things like that while developing applications? Did you get my question?
Yeah, whether you can, because it's default. Is it because it's just default or something? You can't style it.
Yes, like it's default, like it's associated with Windows.
Well, it's okay. I don't see any
Okay.
reason why you can't use it. Right, David?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's actually okay to use it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so let me remove this. Okay, so the second one, which is issue 12, says, as a user, I want to view a list of my shopping list items in order of how soon I am likely to need to buy each of them again, so that it's clear what I need to buy soon. So possible item states as follows: need to buy soon, fewer than 7 days; need to buy kind of soon, between 7 to 30 days; need to buy not soon, more than 30 days. Then inactive, where there's only one purchase in the database, or this purchase is really out of date and that is the time has elapsed since the last purchase. Sorry, let me take that again. So there's a fourth category that can be called inactive. And it means when there is only one purchase in the database, or the purchase is really out of date. And what they mean by when it's really out of date is that the time that has elapsed since it was last purchased is 2 times what was estimated. Like if the user wanted to buy, if the user bought an item today, and then they say they are likely to buy it again in 7 days, and then 7 days has gone and the user didn't buy it again, 8 days, 9 days, till 14 days, which is 2 times the estimated time the user wants to buy, and the user didn't buy it again, you can just assume that that item is inactive. Probably the user does not want to buy it again, or is just not interested. So they can be classified under inactive. So as ACs, the item in the list are shown as virtually distinct. Example, with the different background color on the list item according to how soon the item is expected to be bought again, which is soon, kind of soon, not soon, and inactive, those 4 categories. Then the item should be sorted by the estimated number of days until the next purchase, meaning the soon should come first, and then not soon and probably inactive should come last. Then the items with the same number of estimated days until next purchase should be sorted alphabetically. If a user is supposed to buy 2 items on the same day, they should be sorted alphabetically. So the items in the different states should be described distinctly when read by a screen reader. Note, the criteria for an item being inactive has tripped up teams in the past. it's been rewarded to be more clear, but the gist is that an item is inactive if the time that has elapsed since its last purchase is twice or more, which was what was estimated the last time it was purchased. Example, if the last estimate was 14 days and 28 days as elapsed, the item is considered inactive. Teams in the past have also over-engineered the solution here by breaking the list out into separate groups, but it should be achievable in a single list where virtual treatments is different based on what the category of the item falls into. Be sure to not only use color to denote how soon the user will need to buy the item as noted in the wireframe. Good luck. All right, so since you've already grouped the items as anyone that is fewer or 7 days is need to buy soon, then anyone just worked on, that is what you're going to use.
Tamaka, I lost you at least for 5 seconds, something like that.
All right. Is it clear now? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm trying to just go over it again based on the user story that Idima and his partner worked on this past week. That is what you're going to use to check last purchased on. So not last purchased on, days till next purchase. So if it's less than or equal to 7 days, then it's likely that the user will buy it soon. So those ones are expected to come first. Then the ones that are to follow are the ones that are to be bought kind of soon, which is between 7 to 30 days. Then the ones that are above 30 days are not to buy soon. And then there is also a fourth category, which is inactive. An item is inactive when the time that has elapsed since the last purchase is 2 times when it was estimated, And I've explained it. I said that if what is recorded in the database as days left for next purchase is 20 days, and then the 20 days reached, and then the user didn't buy it again, 30 days, and then 40 days, which is 2 times what was estimated, the user still didn't buy. It means the user is maybe no longer interested. So those items should be categorized under inactive. Yeah. And then it's saying too that you should consider screen readers. You should probably use Arial label. Let me see what the wireframe is talking about. Yeah. Yeah, so it's showing the Arial label that you should use to denote how soon the user will need to buy the item, in addition to a visual indicator. So it's saying that even though you add colors to show that egg is going to be bought within the next 7 days, this one is going to be bought within 7 to 30 days, and then this one is inactive or something, I should also use Arial label and label it well for screen readers for accessibility issues. So that's basically what this issue is talking about. Is it clear enough?
So it's like for the inactive one, should we make like like it's a strike through or something like that?
I didn't.
It's like the inactive one, for example, if it's if an item is not being purchased 2 times of what the estimate date, and then it will appear like with the strike through, or like I don't know, play with the colors or something like that.
Yeah. So you can either choose to change the font color. We've had cohorts in the past that just choose to change the font color. Then other people can still choose to change the checkbox, the color. You can also choose to add a background color to your code, to this list. Just add a background color and then change the background color. Anything you want to use to just make it different. It just says virtually different. Like if you look at it, you should know that the soon and not so soon are not in the same category by just looking at the list. So that's what it means.
Okay.
All right, so this is the grouping for this week. Does anyone have any preference, or do I just do it according to how your name appears? All right, so Edema and Fatima. Okay, that's it. If along the line something is confusing, you can always reach out to us on Slack too. Then we'll sort it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amaka. And now we'll move on to the communication for devs module. David will be presented.
Right. Okay. Before that, I wanted to, or whether it can come up after when we're done. I noticed something while working on the other the previous sprint's work. I noticed that from our design, what we had initially, like the add item component, once a user wants to buy an item, you click on how soon, kind of soon or not soon, and we recorded that. So I was going through all these stories to
8
see.
o'clock.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
okay. So I was going through the issues to know. It seems like it's kind of redundant. It seems throughout all the stories, it seems we are not really making use of that logic we had there. Like a user buys an item, you click on when next you want to buy the item, and it was recorded. You want to buy soon, which was interpreted to be 7 days. Kind of soon to be 14 days, not so soon to be more than the 14 days or thereabout. So I was going through to see if there is a place so that we'll make use of it. It seems it's just there, so we are not really making use of it throughout the project. So I don't know if anybody has any idea why it is so. Because the function we later had from the utility function, we can as well make use of it conveniently. We were not going with what the user clicked on. That is the time that he or she is going to buy the item again. We're calculating it based on all the parameters, which was also very useful. So I don't know if we should still keep that UI there, or it's something that will need to be improved on.
I think we can add like in soon and then say like 7 days and then not soon, 14 days, something like that. That would also make it clearer for users, I think. Like if, for example, we have the add item page, right? Yeah, and then we input like an item, and then there would be like a selection buttons, like soon, not soon, and then kind of soon. And we can like give more information on that, like soon, and then 7 days, not soon, 14 days, and kind of soon, 30 days. I think I mixed up, but I hope you get my point.
I don't know if you're like David. I don't know if you understand. Like if there is any other. I get what you meant, but I am thinking like this thing is there. Like you need to you click on to buy the item soon. You click on not soon, kind of soon, but throughout the project, it's like after clicking on that, we are not making use of it. That is what I mean. We are not making use of it. So if we are not making use of it, I'm thinking about its usefulness in the project.
Yeah,
You
you
mean
are-
like the countdown?
Yeah,
Check and then the countdown.
you are that is going to came to use in this in this and the issue that we just shown. So by clicking on that, you are going to be it's the the information that you are writing in the database, clicking on soon, not soon, or things like that is going to prioritize the list now. So it's going to be used in this in the issues for this week. I think you are going to see it when you see the, I don't know if you are going to use colors or whatever. You are going to see the value of that on the next issue. So it may be a good feedback for maybe it's a good feedback for Collab Lab that maybe we should change for avoiding this feeling or of making something that doesn't seem to be useful, because we are doing that, but it's not, we are not using it that until the end, kind of. But yeah, it's something that interesting feedback. But as I said, you are going to be using that now and being the following issues for being able to do the filtering and putting the items that you need to buy soon. The first, you need all the data that we have been saving to that.
I think, okay, I think in this filtering, like the item we need to buy soon, or kind of, so I think what they will need to work with, I think it is the estimated, the next estimated time that we calculated that they will be making use of.
Okay.
I went through the issues. I did not actually, yeah.
I wanted to ask the user story you worked on this past week in order to arrive at days left for next purchase. You didn't use that figure you're talking about. You didn't use it.
Not at all. I checked through it. Yeah, I did not use it.
It was not required.
It wasn't required.
Well, that's if you are supposed to kind of use it to arrive at days left for next purchase though. Well, I don't know. I'll probably look at it later. Well, that's really what, like, in addition to that stuff that comes with the project, like the one you get as an NPM package, it's actually required.
The one that we got as an NPM package takes in
from the LIB.
Yeah, that one takes in three parameters there. So the first one is the I don't know, let me just, if we have time, I can just share my screen and let's go through that particular function a little.
Okay.
Okay, so just see that I did not actually say that it was required. Okay, can I see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what it's, so it takes in the last estimated purchase interval. So it also,
what's this previous estimate? What is it? How do you derive it?
Okay, this previous estimate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the previous estimate is okay, this is how we calculate it. If at all we've already had if we've done the calculation initially, so it's just like a kind of recursive. So if we've calculated this before, we'll pass it in to the next time the person is purchasing it. If we've not done that before, I think there is a place here that it states that what should be.
Yeah, but if you go if you go to the acceptance criteria, for example, for issue number 12, for the first acceptance criteria, you need the soon, kind of soon or not soon. value for changing the color of the item. Then for the estimation, you will need this, but you are going to need for the issue number 12, you are going to use for the 12. You are going to need everything that you have in the database.
Yeah.
Go to the issue number 12 and check the first acceptance criteria.
This, right?
No, in the 12, number 12.
Number 12.
Issue,
Okay.
issue number 12. The first AC, you need that value for being able to change the color on for doing that.
Okay. I think I'll still go through it again, but I took out time the last time to go through it, and I was not actually seeing where it was like correlating. So that's why I said
I
I'll
think in the
just
inactive state, to calculate that, you're going to need to use the last purchase, or sorry, to use the need to purchase that that specific property, because it's going to be the difference between your actual purchase frequency and your estimated purchase frequency. So you're going to need both of these numbers. So when you first put in the item, you're going to estimate how soon you think you're going to purchase it. And then the system is going to record how soon you actually purchased it. And in order to calculate the states, you need both numbers.
For issue 12?
Yeah, sorry, for issue 12. Right, so I think you're still going to end up needing that, if I understand you correctly.
Okay. I'll still go through it again.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, the feedback is good, Emma. So feeling that something you are done using is not being used, maybe we can improve that, or on adding more information to the issues or something like that. Yeah, I will push that to the mentors and check if we can do something about that.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we can move to the presentation now.
Okay, let me share. Oops. Okay, so this is going to be a small small presentation, and then kind of a brainstorming or conversation between us. We are going to talk about application for devs, but targeting the code. Okay, for we're going to be seeing the what, the why, and the how, but seeing some examples on how can we do that through the code. So yeah, this is we are going to speak about that because communication is key, and it's more and more common to see people in the industry. You can see a lot of people telling that basically all the technical issues or big corporations, the problem is not in the technology, always the problem is in the people, in the culture, the communication. So we can do, we are able to do anything, to build anything, but the real problem is in the coordination, in how teams are engaged, etc. So communication is key for a healthy and high performance team. It's one of the key factors. Okay, so we're going to see a couple of So documentation is one of the ways that we have to communicate. Why? So communication is also documentation. Sorry, is a way for you to talk to your future self Documenting yourself, it's a superpower. I encourage you to think of that this way. For example, you watching at the code you wrote 5 years ago, it's like watching another person, like saying, why did I do that? It's and also 6 months from now, you can be in that position, that what I was thinking when I did that, when I wrote that code. So documenting yourself, it's important for you and also for the team, meaning that different people is going to be reading. Yeah, some tips, yes. Documentation, writing things down. It's different people have different paths for learning, or different types of learning works better for different people. Like more people are more visual, or other people are more for watching videos. Other people are more hands-on. But writing things down, it's going to help you anyway for accommodating better the ideas and the learners. Yeah, team number 3, I was saying, revisiting big decisions, like, okay, why I did that. So documentation can help you. With that. Is super. I cannot say it's useful. I would say that it's mandatory for having good onboarding for new team members. So documentation is the way for having, it makes the difference between having, okay, onboarding means when another team member joins your team. So we call that onboarding, when they need to learn everything from business to styling, or all the team agreements that you need to learn. So that's part of the onboarding. So documentation is a key part for having a smooth onboarding, or a hell onboarding. Documentation avoids, it's called institutional knowledge, but it's like there are situations where there are only handful of people that knows about something, and you need to go through them because they are only the ones that knows all the interaction between systems or whatever. Documentation helps to avoid silos. So there is in the agile movement, there is it's a value that it's collective called ownership. So meaning that there is no one that is indispensable. Everyone can be, anyone can touch any part of the code base. So with documentation, you can help that to happen. And yeah, empowers all the team members to work and progress without having blockers, like people that has knowledge that it's not documented, or to avoid you spending a lot of time debugging something that it can be aligned on documentation, for example. Okay, so some quick tips for documentation. Usual aim to write for the person who knows the least, because we have a lot of bias when we write. For example, there are, when the companies arrive or reach some certain size, there are people that are called technical writers that are basically doing that documentation for developers, because we are usually, it's not our thing. We are usually quite bad at writing for others. So having in mind that writing for the person who knows the least in the team, it's something that will help. And also, you need to optimize for the person who leads. Maybe they already know, don't need to go through all the thing, but you put a quick reference, some links that are going to put them in the path super fast, or for your future self also. This is I'm not going to, we are short on time. I'm not going to go through this. You can check. This is an example of a great documentation. There are others, but you can check this one. And also, if you have some that you want to share in the Slack channel, what do you think that it's a good documentation of some library that you started to use that it was super smooth to start using it? So you can share that as well for having examples of what a good documentation looks like. Okay, let's move on. So another tool we have for communication are pull requests. Okay, so communication or conversation, it helps a lot with in a lot of situations. Let's check why. So pull requests gives the reviewers context on your code. We are talking about the description and all the text that we put when we send a pull request for review. There are infinite team compositions, so maybe the people that is going to review is going to be part of your team, but maybe they have not worked on that code. Maybe it's going to be someone external that doesn't know anything, doesn't know a thing about your code or the feature that you are wanting them to review. So having a PR is the way, is the place for adding context about what should they review and yeah. This is also a tip, and a lot of companies code review. It's a big part on in the hiring process. So going through PRs on your code, having a robust PR description will help a lot. I remember Andrew talking about, for example, in Zapier, in the hiring process, they maybe only look at the PR and not at the code at all. So you can imagine the importance of the how do you write a PR. So if you are in a hiring process and they have take home exercise, make sure that you create a great PR description. Some tips how to do great PR descriptions. Screenshots, GIFs and videos. Videos, for example, there are a lot of tools for doing screen recording for showing the demo. Imagine that you are in a fully async team and you cannot have a synchronous call, and you do a demo of the feature in a video and you put that on the VR, for example. It's not always necessary, but maybe if the functionality is complex enough or whatever, you can use a video. Also, screenshots are always useful to illustrate some things. Yeah, links to resources and permalinks to code. For reference, it's there is a way in GitHub or any Git provider to select some lines and have a permalink or a link that is going to work forever for referencing. Okay, in this line I change this or whatever. Okay, we went through a bit of this self-review thing before this week, because you don't need to think of PR as only adding the PR when the feature is finished. You can use it as a conversation tool. So whenever you start, you can issue the PR, and it allows you to comment or ask for questions in the code in special lines, etc. and you can ask for review or and also do a self-review of the PR before you send it, or at the middle of the functionality. You can, for example, ask, okay, I approached this functionality this way, but I'm not sure if it's correct. So what do you think? Or things like that. But the tip here is to not think of the PR as a final thing, or only creating the PR when the feature is finished or ready to review. So you can use it as a tool for starting conversation with your peer or other teams, etc. Yeah, this is important, keeping the PRs small and narrowly scoped. Sadly, you will see in some places PRs with, I don't know, 100 file change or things like that. That is going to end in what we call a blind approval. That is going, okay, there is nothing crazy, but there is no either a conversation of a learning chance or a learning opportunity. So it's more like a blind approval. For a PR to be useful and effective, it needs to be small and with a narrow scope. Okay, you can see that we're short on time, so you can I will share this, and you can go through the links. That's a great PR description from TCL-35, so that was a long time ago. Okay, this is controversial. Comments in code. I can say, for example, in my company, maybe we have 50-50 people that think that comments in code are bad, and others that things are okay. So for this, you need to have an open conversation with, depending on your team, an open conversation about this. But yeah, you can have a lot of friction there. But yeah, and comments are not bad. It can be bad because a comment that doesn't add any value, like, okay, you have let x equal 0, and you have a comment that set x to 0. So that's not adding anything. So the goal of the comment should be to give more context on the, imagine, do you think the comments go also with the previous thing, like writing documentation for people that knows the list and you fit yourself. So it should be like a guidance to understand the functionality. It's important for the comments to speak about the why you did that, rather than explaining the code itself. So the function that it's doing, it's why was that code there. So I'm going to through an example. I think it's important. So yeah, it's focus on the why it was written. Here is a cool example for this. So this is a warning. So if you mess with multiple, you can blow up the component, basically. So this is a comment with a lot of value. It's if you are going to touch this, you need to be careful with that. It's not telling anything that this does. It's only speaking about giving you some context about the why, and that you should be careful with that. This is a good example. But yeah, you will have. I had conversations with. I have some teammates that they are super against comments because they think that the code should be documented itself with the test. But yeah, there is a lot of back and forth. But if the comments are targeting the why, then it should be okay. Or it's okay, and also it's beneficial for communication. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I wanted to have a little brainstorm about what your experience has been with documentation, code comments, etc. Have you thought about, or have you felt that thing that when you were while you were learning, like you have checked your code from some previous time, and you have seen, okay, what I was thinking, or something like that? Or what has been your experience with
Lots of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of time. I mean, like if I saw my previous codes and I would like looking at it and why did I write that? So yeah. Maybe
Also, when you have to review the other pair issue, do you think, or you have felt that the how the description has been written has helped a lot, or if you need to put more or less information about how to test, something like that? So what has been your experience so far?
yes, PR descriptions are really helpful. And like I know how to do the test and what to expect in the change. If it's written on the PR descriptions, then it's easier like to see where the change is made and what they do. So yeah, PR descriptions is really important, I think.
And the best thing about the descriptions is that they reflect, what's happening to the code right then. But a comment might just be there and you're not sure if it's valid or not.
And I think also testing procedures, the more detailed, the better, because you know exactly what it is that you need to test, especially with dates and so on.
Yeah, but I barely see code comments, to be honest.
But it's
Yeah.
because do you think are, or something told you that are bad practice, or?
I don't get you. Dave.
No, I think that there are not so much, or there are few or little comments in the code, but it's because you think are not necessary, or
As
you
for
have
me,
read that.
myself, I think that it's necessary, but I see like people don't really use code comments a lot. So I got like influenced by that. Like, am I doing things wrong by having the comment like the steps what I want to do in the code? So because I see that there's not many people like using the code comments, I start not using that as well, and more like I write it in my own notes rather than on the code itself.
Yeah, I feel like comments are for yourself because no one likes to read other people's comments. They like to read your own comments because it's the way you think. And then when you read other people's comments, it's like trying to understand their worldview. It's unless you know that person really well, it actually makes no sense most of the time because you have no idea what their context is. So I definitely think for your own stuff, you should write as much comments as you want. But when you push it to remote for other people, it's sort of more of a distraction.
But it's that is why you should. So those comments are valuable for if you are working in a team. You should try to write for the people
Other
that
people,
knows
yeah.
the list. That's difficult. That's a difficult skill to have. So, and it takes practice, but it's super useful. And
I am a fan of sort of comments that tell you what a block of code is doing. Sort of like when you have a certain block that you're like, okay, this is like the helper block, or this is like the logic block. I mean, suppose you have a lot of stuff in a big file and maybe you shouldn't, but if you do, maybe that blockage of comment, just like one line of like, this is what the next 5 things is gonna do would help. Yeah, I also don't know what you mean by comments, like how complex should the comments be, how involved, but yeah, it's just difficult. It's difficult. It's like also
Yeah,
a slippery slope. Once you write one thing, you're like, maybe I'll just write another. And then before you know it, there's more comments and code. That's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, but you should focus on the why. On the why for helping you and your future self to understand that. So there is a saying that our industry, it's maybe 90% of the time we are reading code and 10% of the time we are writing code. So that's that way. Basically, it's difficult to have be in a project that you start from scratch or a greenfield that's with its code. So yeah, we are a lot of time reading code, and as much better we get on writing, not for ourselves but for the team. So it's going to be more pleasant. But yeah, it takes time, and it's another habit to another skill to cultivate.
I think comments are very, very important, but I'm considering if there could be, it will look kind of more uniform and neater if there could be a particular procedure, something like a template of how to write the comment, because sometimes as your code starts getting bigger and more complex and there are a lot of comments, and for yourself you might be feeling, oh, it's not looking nice, but you only find it that it's very important when you are reading some other person's code and you don't have any clue of what the person was trying to do here or what the person was trying to do here. So but you start appreciating the importance of the comments. So like if the person had provided enough comments in some things, it will help you to like at least get the flow, because when the code is now, initially when you are just starting, it might look very, very a bit understanding because you are the one writing the code. Let me say another person that was not part of the team now comes in and the person don't even know what this particular block of code is doing or what this particular block of code is doing, especially if your code is not that readable or explicit. So you find that comments it becomes very important there. So, but if we can have a form of uniformity of how it should be written, so at least the code will not be like 20% 30% comment and 70% code, all this kind of stuff. It will also be good. So that is what I just started.
Yeah. Okay, I feel comments should be short, like a short comment, but like Edima said, maybe there is a format to write it, because when your code gets larger and you're trying to put comments in everything just for others to understand, so maybe there is a format to follow.
For me, it's sorry, David.
No, go ahead.
For me, I just say I was listening to you saying that you start writing comments and all that, and I don't know if the comments you start writing they are about language features. So if you're thinking that here I'm using a map function and a map function does this and this, this isn't necessary because the map function is a language feature and there's plenty of documentation on that. So I think those comments aren't so useful, the ones explaining the syntax and all that. For you, it might be useful because it's a learning note, but it's not very useful for other people. Unless it's an educational app that you're making, so then it's very useful. So that's just my thoughts. And also for me, I use comments as reminders to, add that to do or make a note that something is wrong and I'll fix it later. So for me, these are also very useful comments.
I have a question. You guys were saying that you spend most of your time reading code versus writing. What is a way to get better at like reading code? Is it just to read a lot of code? And what kind of code should you read? like, what would you recommend in terms of getting exposure to kind of good patterns and coding practices? What is the best way to digest a large amount of code?
Yeah, you have, thankfully, we have the open source community. So for example, imagine the GitLab project that is super transparent. You can start contributing. They have issues in their board to contribute to the open source version. So trying to bootstrap that locally and start adding some features to the code, you will need to read a lot. So I would say that the most useful way for being good at reading and understanding the flow is to try to do something, to try to do commits on an open source project, for example. Also, you can ask the maintainers; they are normally nice people, can help you to that. But I would say the hands-on approach to read code is to get better at reading code is to try to contribute and add functionality to something that is not under your control. It's totally new for you.
Okay.
Yep, and that way you also get exposure to, because code isn't always well written and doesn't follow best practices, and this way you also get exposure to code that's maybe a bit messy in comparison to tutorials where the code is very nice and clean.
Yeah, you can be exposed to real code, real world code and spaghetti.
But that's two different issues, right? One is to try to understand other people's messy code, and the other is try to not write messy code yourself. So I was more interested in the second, but you guys are advocating for the first to be familiar with. So what is the yeah, like I understand what you're saying. Like you need to be able to understand all kinds of code, right? Depending based on, you know, different styles and different conventions and so on. Okay, I see where you're coming from. But I was thinking more like just in terms of understanding best practices is better. What is the best way to digest code? But okay. Would you share some links in Slack later if you have suggestions for kind of good open source libraries that are friendly to be read in terms of
there is in the clean code book that is one of the that is called the Gang of Four, the 4 books that every developer should read. There is the concept of what the facts per minute when reading code. So it's a good measure of how messy the code you are reading is. It's what the facts per minute. And I kind of like that. It's
okay.
That's a very good book, right? By the way. So
yep, and I was also about to talk about design patterns, that if you're interested in good practices, there were some sites. I mean, the book that David mentioned, it is very good. I guess I haven't read it, but it looks difficult to me. So I prefer there are people that examples of design patterns in JavaScript. I'll try to find some links. I found some nice guys.
Okay, great. Please share later if possible.
Also, do you think like try to write clean code? Do you think once you are just starting out with the code, you want to break down the ideas as you just have it, and you want to start coding? Do you think you will need to like do it somewhere and then refactor and bring it back, or you can just write push and then refactor later, so and to make it look better something? What do you think?
yeah, refactor later is the goal. So it's when I work where I work, it's we are strong on test-driven development and baby steps, and meaning that you should add the feature in an incremental way. So refactor is a later thing. So you should first push the functionality. You can, so trying to build something directly with a design pattern, maybe it's going to cause more harm than good. because the pattern will emerge, or they say that will emerge at, while you are coding. So it's just do it, and then maybe the refactor is necessary or maybe not. If you are clear that you're implementing a pattern, you can go directly with that. But it's for example, I would share something that I don't know if you know about the code katas, that are exercises for being comfortable with design patterns. I can share some that we have. I have some links for JavaScript katas. When you have a problem and there are different solutions, and it's expected for you to do refactors along the way. So it's a good way to practice. Okay, so guys, so I have to leave now. So I don't want to stop the conversation, but you can have to go.
Yep, thank you, David. This was very interesting, but yeah, we probably all have to leave. So for this week, Michael will be doing office hours, and I'll be doing code reviews. So have a great week. Good luck with the issues, and see you. Bye.
See
Good night.
you.
Great,
Thank
thank you very
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.